He broke me. But tonight, I broke him.
The night was too quiet for what I was about to witness. I stood on the sidewalk, staring at my own house across the street. The porch light flickered like a warning, the shadows shifting behind the thin curtains. My breath caught in my throat, my palms damp, my heartbeat pounding so hard I thought the whole block could hear it. Inside, two figures moved close together. Their laughter carried faintly into the night. My chest tightened when I recognized them. Jason, my husband. Melissa, my cousin. My nails dug into my palms, fists clenching so tight my knuckles turned white. I bit down on my lip until I tasted blood, trying to convince myself I was wrong, that my eyes were lying. But then, I saw him lean down. His lips brushed hers. Her hand slid across his cheek, the same tender touch I used to give him. My jaw locked, my body trembling with rage and disbelief. Tears filled my eyes, blurring the sight, but I couldn't look away. No, not them. Not like this. The world around me grew distant. All I could hear was the echo of their laughter, the sound of betrayal cutting into my chest like a blade. That night, in the quiet streets of Willow Creek, I swore one thing. They would not bury me in silence. I would rise, and the whole world would watch them fall. The backstory. My name is Emily Carter, and for most of my life, I believed I was one of the lucky ones. I grew up in Willow Creek, Texas, a quiet suburban town just outside of Dallas, the kind of place where neighbors waved from their porches, kids rode bikes until the streetlights flickered on, and everyone showed up for the high school football games on Friday nights. It wasn't perfect, but it was home. My parents taught me to believe in loyalty and family. My dad used to say, "Family is your anchor. Without it, you drift." My mom would smile at him, squeezing his hand across the dinner table. That was the love I wanted. A steady, unshakable bond. When I met Jason, I thought I had found exactly that. We met during my sophomore year at the University of Texas. I was sitting on the lawn, textbooks spread out, when he dropped his coffee cup right next to me. It splashed across my notes. I remember glaring at him, my cheeks hot with irritation, but he just laughed nervously, rubbing the back of his neck. "I'm so sorry. Let me buy you another coffee, and maybe a new notebook." His grin was so boyish, so genuine, that I couldn't stay mad. That was Jason. Charming. Warm. He had this easy way about him, like he belonged wherever he went. Before long, he belonged with me. We dated for 3 years. He'd surprise me with late-night tacos, or leave sticky notes on my car window that said things like, "Don't forget you're beautiful." When he proposed under the old oak tree, near campus, my heart nearly burst. He slipped the ring on my finger, his hands shaking, his smile wide. I cried. He kissed me and whispered, "Forever, Em." I believed him. We got married in a small church in Willow Creek. I can still hear the sound of the organ, still see the way his eyes lit up when I walked down the aisle. Melissa, my cousin, was my maid of honor. She hugged me tight before the ceremony, her red nails digging lightly into my back. "You did it," she said with a smirk. "You really caught him." I laughed nervously. That was Melissa, bold, loud, always teasing. She was like a sister to me growing up. We spent summers chasing fireflies, whispering secrets in the dark, and sneaking cookies from Grandma's kitchen. She could be reckless, sometimes selfish, but she was blood. I trusted her. After the wedding, Jason and I settled into our little white house with the blue shutters. It wasn't big, but it was ours. He worked as an architect in Dallas, and I taught 3rd grade at the elementary school. Life was steady, simple. Every morning, we'd share coffee on the porch. He'd kiss my forehead before leaving, his tie slightly crooked, and I'd straighten it for him. We'd laugh about little things, like how he always lost his car keys, or how I could never remember where I left my phone. On Sundays, Melissa would sometimes join us for brunch. She'd bring wine, even though it was only noon, and she'd make jokes that made Jason laugh too loud. I'd notice the way his eyes crinkled when he looked at her, but I brushed it off. After all, she was family. My parents adored Jason. My mom would call him her second son. My dad would slap him on the back and say, "Take care of my girl." Jason would smile, steady and sure. "Always, sir." And I believed him. The first cracks came small. He started working late. At first it was once a week, then twice, then almost every night. He'd come home tired, his shirt smelling faintly of cologne, not the kind I bought him. I asked him once, "Rough day?" He smiled weakly, dropping his bag by the door. "Yeah, Em. You know how it is. Clients keep me busy." I kissed him, pretending I didn't feel the distance. Melissa kept showing up too. She'd accidentally drop by, always dressed a little too nice, her lipstick a little too bold. She'd pour herself a glass of wine, laughing with Jason about things I didn't understand. Sometimes I felt like an outsider in my own home. Still, I ignored it. I told myself I was imagining things. That love was stronger than doubt. There were nights I'd crawl into bed alone, the sheets cold, and tell myself this was just a season, that he still loved me, that Melissa was just being Melissa. Looking back now, I realize I was blind. But back then, I clung to the memories of the man who had once written me love notes on yellow sticky pads, the man who had promised me forever under an oak tree. Because that's what hope does. It blinds you. It makes you believe in people who don't deserve your faith. And I believed. Until the night everything shattered. The betrayal. The night it all came crashing down didn't start like a tragedy. It was a Wednesday. The sky was clear, the stars sharp and bright above Willow Creek. I was driving home from the grocery store, humming softly to the radio, the bags of vegetables and milk rattling in the back seat. My phone buzzed in the cup holder. A text from Jason. "Working late tonight. Don't wait up." I smiled tiredly, shaking my head. That was nothing new. He had been working late a lot these days. But when I pulled onto our street, my smile faded. His car was already in the driveway. My stomach dipped. My hands tightened around the steering wheel. Maybe he came home early, I told myself. Maybe he wanted to surprise me. I turned off the ignition, sat there in the dark, and stared at the car. The porch light was on, the front curtains drawn shut. Something felt wrong. I grabbed the grocery bags, walked up the path, and pushed the front door open. The house was quiet, too quiet. Normally, Jason would call out, "Hey, Em!" But tonight, silence. I set the bags on the counter. My eyes drifted toward the living room, where a faint glow flickered. And then I heard it. Melissa's laugh. My body froze. My heart pounded so hard it echoed in my ears. I tiptoed forward, every step heavy, my hands trembling. I peeked around the corner, and my world shattered. Jason sat on the couch, his arm draped over Melissa's shoulders. She leaned into him, her hand on his chest. Their faces were close. Too close. And then, his lips pressed against hers. No. I stumbled back, my hand clamping over my mouth to stifle the cry ripping through me. Tears blurred my vision, hot and fast. My chest ached like someone had slammed a fist straight through my ribcage. Jason pulled away, grinning at her. "You're not like Emily. You're exciting." Melissa giggled, tilting her head, her lipstick smudged. "She's too soft, too boring. You deserve more." My fists clenched, nails digging so deep into my palms I felt the sting of blood. Wanted to storm in, to scream, to rip everything apart. My body shook with rage, my jaw locked, teeth grinding so hard my head throbbed. But I didn't move. I couldn't. My legs felt like stone, my lungs burning. Instead, I turned and stumbled back down the hall, the sound of their laughter chasing me like knives. Outside, the night air hit me like a slap. My knees buckled, and I fell to the driveway, my hands slamming against the cold concrete. Why would you do this to me? Tears streamed down my face. My throat ached with the force of my cries. I pressed my forehead to the ground, my body shaking. Images flashed through my mind. Our wedding day, his promises under the oak tree, Melissa's smile as she stood beside me in her bridesmaid dress. All lies. All poison. I staggered to my feet, wiping my face with trembling hands. My reflection in the window caught me. A broken woman, eyes swollen, lips trembling. But beneath the tears there was something else. Something burning. Rage. You will not destroy me. I stood there in the shadows, watching them through the glass. Their betrayal was no longer a secret between them. It was a knife in my chest, yes, but it was also fuel. From that night forward, I knew my role had changed. I was no longer the wife who waited quietly at home. I was the storm they never saw coming. And when it hit, the whole world would know exactly what they had done, the downfall and struggle. The days after I saw them together felt like walking through ashes. I woke each morning with a weight on my chest, my eyes swollen, my body drained. The sunlight that used to make me smile now felt like a cruel spotlight, exposing my misery to the world. I stopped eating. The coffee pot brewed every morning, but the cup sat untouched on the counter, steam curling into the air before fading into nothing, just like me. At school, I pasted on a smile for the children, but inside, I was crumbling. My voice trembled when I read stories aloud. My hands shook when I wrote on the board. "Mrs. Carter, are you okay?" One of the girls asked one morning, her big brown eyes looking up at me with worry. I forced a smile, though my lips quivered. "I'm fine, sweetheart." But I wasn't fine. Not even close. At home, the silence was unbearable. Every corner of the house screamed with memories of him. Our photos on the wall, his shirts hanging in the closet, the indentation of his pillow beside mine. I curled up on the cold bathroom floor at night, sobbing until my throat was raw. Why wasn't I enough? Sometimes I'd stare at myself in the mirror, hair messy, eyes bloodshot, cheeks hollow, and I didn't recognize the woman looking back. My smile had vanished. My fire was gone. Meanwhile, Jason had changed too, but not in the way I hoped. He stopped hiding. He'd come home late, shirt untucked, reeking of perfume. Not my perfume. Melissa's. Vanilla and smoke. The scent clung to him like a scar. "Rough night?" I asked once, my voice shaking. He shrugged, smirking as he poured himself a drink. "You could say that." His smirk told me everything. He didn't even care if I knew anymore. Melissa, too, grew bolder. She'd accidentally show up at our house when he was home, her heels clicking on the hardwood floors, her lipstick too red. She'd brush past me, perfume choking me, and say, "Hey, cousin, hope you don't mind me borrowing Jason for a while." My fists tightened at my sides, my jaw locked. I bit my tongue so hard I tasted blood. But she'd just smile, eyes glinting, daring me to speak. And Jason? He didn't stop her. He didn't defend me. He just laughed. The humiliation cut deeper than any blade. At family gatherings, whispers started. I caught the glances, the raised eyebrows. People noticed the way Jason lingered too close to Melissa, the way her hand brushed his arm. My aunts whispered behind napkins. My mother's eyes grew clouded with concern. But no one said anything, not out loud, and me? I sat there, smiling through clenched teeth, my nails digging into my palms under the table, my chest screaming. The worst moment came one Saturday night. Jason didn't come home. I waited, curled on the couch, my phone in my hand, staring at the clock as the hours crawled by. Midnight, 1 a.m., 2. At 3 a.m, I heard the door unlock. He stumbled in, hair messy, shirt wrinkled, lips swollen from kisses that weren't mine. I stood, tears already burning my eyes. "Where were you?" He smirked, brushing past me toward the kitchen. Out. Out? With her? My voice cracked, anger breaking through the sorrow. He poured a drink, his back to me. Maybe. What are you going to do about it? The words sliced me open. I felt my knees weaken, my body trembling with shock and fury. My hands shook, my face burned. My heart pounded so hard it hurt. He turned then, leaning against the counter, glass in hand, eyes cold. "You're too easy, Emily. Too boring. Melissa, she makes me feel alive." Tears spilled down my cheeks, my vision blurring. My lips trembled, but beneath the grief, something else stirred. Rage. I staggered back, clutching the wall for balance. My whole body shook, shoulders trembling, breath ragged, eyes blazing through the tears. "You'll regret this." He laughed. He actually laughed. "Sure, Em." He downed his drink and walked past me like I was nothing. That night, I cried until my body gave out. I curled up on the floor, fists pressed to my chest, sobbing so hard it felt like my ribs might shatter. But even as I broke, a seed was planted. Each tear watered it. Each cruel word fed it. Each humiliation gave it strength. It was small then, just a whisper in my mind. But it was there. One day, they would pay. The morning after my lowest night, I looked in the mirror and didn't recognize the woman staring back at me. Her hair was tangled, her eyes red, her lips cracked from crying. She looked small, weak, and beaten. But then, I noticed something else. Behind the wreckage, behind the tears, a fire flickered. Small, but alive. And for the first time in weeks, I didn't look away. I pressed my palms against the sink, my reflection glaring back at me. My jaw tightened, my shoulders squared. Enough. You don't get to break me. Not anymore. That was the day I decided I would not live in silence. If Jason and Melissa wanted to make me the fool, if they wanted to smear my name with their betrayal, then I would turn the spotlight on them. I would strip away their masks and let the whole world see the truth. But I had to be smart, careful. Revenge done in the shadows was just anger. Revenge done in the light. That was justice. So I started planning. First, I took control of myself. Began running every morning, my feet pounding the sidewalks of Willow Creek, sweat pouring down my face. Each stride felt like I was burning off the weakness, building strength again. Neighbors waved, surprised to see me out. I forced myself to smile back, my chest heaving, my legs trembling. In the evenings, I cooked real meals, forcing myself to eat even when I didn't want to. I took long showers, scrubbing away the pain, letting the hot water sting my skin. I brushed my hair, painted my nails, put on lipstick again. Every little thing was a battle, but each battle I won brought me closer to myself again. Second, I gathered evidence. Jason thought I was too broken to notice, but I noticed everything. I started keeping my phone close, recording the late-night arguments, his cruel words, the way he bragged about Melissa. One night, while he was in the shower, I opened his laptop. My hands shook, but I pushed through the fear. Emails, texts, photos. There they were, pictures of him and Melissa in hotel rooms. Messages that made my stomach churn. Last night was amazing. Can't wait for more. Emily has no idea. Sharp exhale, voice low. Got you. I copied everything onto a flash drive, my heart racing. My hands trembled, but my smile stretched wide for the first time in months. Third, I built my stage. Public exposure needed an audience. So, I waited. The perfect opportunity came when Jason's firm announced its annual company gala, a fancy event where employees brought their spouses, where speeches were made, where reputations were polished. Jason insisted we attend together. He said it would look good. I laughed bitterly in my head. Oh, it's going to look good, all right? I bought a new dress, sleek, black, powerful. The kind of dress that made people turn their heads. I stood in front of the mirror, adjusting the straps. My chin high, my eyes sharp, soft but strong, whisper. This time I'm not the victim. I'm the storm. In the weeks leading up to the gala, I practiced. I practiced speaking in the mirror, my voice steady, my gaze unflinching. I imagined their faces when the truth came crashing down. Some nights, doubt tried to creep in. What if this backfires? What if they laugh again? But then I'd remember Jason's smirk, Melissa's giggle, the humiliation that burned through me every time I walked into a room with them. And I'd shake my head. No, not this time. This time, they would be the ones burning. I also began rebuilding my allies. My mother, who had sensed something was wrong, grew quiet when I told her pieces of the truth. Her eyes watered, her hand covering her mouth. "Oh, Emily," she whispered, tears in her eyes. I squeezed her hand, my voice steady. "Don't worry, Mom. I have a plan." My best friend, Sarah, nearly dropped her coffee cup when I told her. "Your cousin? Are you kidding me?" Her face turned red, her fists clenched. "Emily, you can't let them get away with this." I smiled, for real this time. "Oh, trust me. I won't." The night before the gala, I barely slept. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing with every detail of the plan. My heart pounded, but it wasn't fear anymore. It was anticipation. Tomorrow the mask comes off. The day of the event, I painted my lips red, curled my hair, and slid into that black dress. I stood in front of the mirror, shoulders back, eyes burning with determination. Jason glanced at me as I walked down the stairs. His eyes widened slightly, but then he smirked. "Wow. Didn't think you still had it in you," he said casually, adjusting his tie. I smiled, slow and sharp. Low whisper, almost a hiss. "You have no idea." He didn't. Neither of them did. But they were about to learn. Because tonight wasn't about forgiveness. It wasn't about survival. It was about justice. And justice was about to be public. The ballroom glittered with gold chandeliers and polished marble floors. Laughter, clinking glasses, and the soft hum of violins filled the air. Jason walked beside me, his hand on my lower back like we were still the perfect couple. His smile was wide, charming, practiced. Inside, I burned. But outside, I smiled. I scanned the room. Executives in suits, their wives in gowns, cameras flashing, waiters weaving through with trays of champagne. This was the perfect stage. Melissa was there, too. She wore a crimson dress, her hair in curls. Her eyes met mine across the room. And for a moment, she froze. Her smile flickered, just for a second. Then she looked away, linking her arm through another coworker's as if nothing was wrong. "Enjoy tonight, cousin. It's your last night, in the light." The evening dragged with speeches and toasts. Jason laughed louder than usual, telling stories, charming investors. I stayed quiet, sipping champagne, waiting for the right moment. Then it came. The host announced, "Now, a few words from Jason Parker, our lead project manager, a man we're proud to call one of our own." Applause rang out. Jason straightened. His tie, kissed my cheek, and walked to the stage. I followed him with my eyes. His smile stretched wide as he shook hands, grabbed the mic, and launched into his speech about teamwork, trust, and values. Each word tasted like poison to me. Trust. Integrity. Loyalty. My fists tightened around my clutch, my jaw locked, and when the applause started again, I moved. "Excuse me," I said loudly, stepping toward the stage. My voice cut through the clapping. Heads turned. Jason froze, blinking at me, confused. Melissa's face paled. I walked with steady steps, my heels clicking against the marble floor, each sound like a countdown. All eyes were on me now. I stopped just in front of the stage, holding the mic request card I'd slipped from the table earlier. The host hesitated, but I smiled, sweetly, my eyes sharp. "Mind if I say a few words? As Jason's wife?" A murmur rippled through the crowd. Jason shifted nervously, his jaw twitching. "Emily, sit down." I ignored him. The host, sensing the tension, reluctantly handed me the mic. My hands were steady. My voice was calm, but inside, my heart hammered with fire. "Good evening, everyone," I began. My smile was warm, my tone smooth. "I know tonight is about celebrating Jason and the company, but I thought I'd share something personal. After all, Jason always says honesty is important." Jason's face tightened. Melissa looked like she was sinking into the floor. I took a deep breath, my eyes sweeping across the room. Every executive, every spouse, every investor, watching, listening. "Marriage," I said, "is supposed to be about love, loyalty, and respect. But sometimes the person you trust most becomes the one who destroys you." Gasps echoed softly. Jason stepped forward, panic in his eyes. "Emily, stop this." I turned to him slowly, my smile sharp, my voice steady. Sharp exhale. "Why, Jason? Afraid they'll hear the truth?" Then I pulled out my phone. I tapped the screen, and the EE speakers filled with his voice. Jason's drunken laugh. "Emily's so clueless. Melissa's so much better. She'll never find out." Melissa's giggle followed. "We should have told her years ago. Poor Emily." The room erupted in gasps and whispers. Eyes widened, jaws dropped. Jason lunged for the mic, his face red, veins bulging in his neck. "Turn it off," he shouted, his voice cracking. But I stepped back, holding the phone high. "No, Jason, not tonight." I swiped again, and photos appeared on the giant projector screen behind him. Emails, hotel confirmations, selfies of him and Melissa in bed. The crowd roared with shock. Some covered their mouths, others shook their heads in disgust. Melissa's face went ghost white. She grabbed her purse and bolted for the door, but the whispers followed her like fire. Jason stood frozen, sweat dripping down his temple, his perfect image crumbling in seconds. "You wanted to play with my life," I said, my voice low but clear, filled with years of pain. My hands no longer shook, my eyes burned with victory. "Well, now everyone knows who you really are." Jason's mouth opened and closed, but no words came. His coworkers stared at him, disappointment and disgust written across their faces. The CEO stood up, his voice cold. "Jason, my office. Tomorrow morning." Jason's shoulders slumped. His eyes darted around the room, but there was nowhere to hide. The man who always had the last word, who smirked and laughed at my pain, now stood silent, humiliated, destroyed by his own choices. I placed the mic down gently, my lips curling into the faintest smile. Soft, steady whisper. Justice served. And with that, I turned, my heels echoing against the marble floor as I walked away. The ballroom buzzed with whispers, gasps, and stares, all burning holes into Jason's crumbling pride. Behind me, he called out, his voice broken. "Emily!" Wait, I didn't stop. I didn't even look back. For the first time in years, I was free. The night of the gala stayed with me long after the lights dimmed. I remember stepping outside into the cool air, my body trembling, not from fear, but from release. For the first time in so long, I could breathe. My chest expanded, my shoulders lifted, and I looked up at the night sky. The stars glittered like tiny promises. It's over. The fallout came fast. Jason was suspended from his job the very next morning. Within a week, he was fired. The company didn't want a scandal attached to their name. Not after those recordings had spread like wildfire through whispers, emails, and even a leaked clip online. Melissa's downfall was even worse. Word spread quickly through our family. My aunt, her mother, was devastated, unable to even look at her. At gatherings, Melissa became the outcast. Her laughter, once smug and sharp, was gone. Her phone buzzed with silence now. No more invitations. No more friends to share drinks with. She and Jason tried to keep their relationship alive, but betrayal burns both ways. Soon enough, I heard the fights began. Screaming matches in cheap apartments, slammed doors, neighbors complaining. Eventually, she left him too. The two people who tried to destroy me ended up destroying each other. And me? I chose not to watch too closely. I didn't stalk their pages or follow their downfall with obsession, because my revenge wasn't about keeping them in my life. It was about setting myself free. My healing took time. At first, I was still shaky, waking in the middle of the night with tears on my cheeks. But I started small. Long walks in the park, coffee dates with my mom, journaling late at night, pouring my pain onto paper until it no longer felt so heavy. My friends, the ones I thought I had lost, came back around when they saw me rising again. One evening, Claire hugged me tight, her eyes misty. "You scared me for a while," she whispered. "But look at you now." I smiled, an honest smile, the kind I hadn't felt in years. I'm getting there. Teaching helped too. My students became my anchor. Their smiles, their innocence, reminded me that life could still be pure, still be kind. One Saturday morning, months later, I stood in front of the mirror. My hair shone, my eyes were clear, and for the first time, I recognized myself again. Not the broken, tear-streaked woman Jason had left behind, but Emily, the woman with fire in her eyes, strength in her stance, and hope in her heart. I'm back. Jason tried reaching out once. He showed up at my door, unshaven, eyes bloodshot, his suit wrinkled. "Emily," he said, his voice low, almost pleading. "I made a mistake. We can fix this." I looked at him for a long moment, studying the man who had once been my everything, his shoulders slumped, his hands shoved deep in his pockets. For the first time, he wasn't smug. He wasn't strong. He was small. "No, Jason," I said softly, my tone steady. "We can't." His lips parted, but I shut the door before he could answer. And that was the last time I ever saw him. Life moved forward. I finished my teaching year strong, and when summer came, I treated myself to something I'd always wanted but never allowed: travel. I booked a trip to the Grand Canyon, standing at the edge with the wind whipping through my hair, the vast beauty stretching before me. I cried that day, but not from sadness, from gratitude, from freedom. This is what living feels like. Months later, at a family gathering, someone mentioned Melissa's name. The room grew tense, but I just smiled. "She's not my problem anymore," I said simply, and the conversation moved on. My family, who had once looked at me with pity, now looked at me with pride. My mother kissed my cheek that night, her eyes shining. "You found yourself again," she whispered, and she was right. Revenge had burned hot, and humiliation had been their punishment. But the real victory wasn't in their downfall. It was in my rise. I had taken the pain they gave me and turned it into strength. I had faced the fire and walked out the other side, not as a victim, but as a survivor. Jason and Melissa would forever be tied to betrayal and disgrace. But me? I was free. Free to love myself. Free to live my life. Free to never settle for less again. Now, when I tell my story, I don't do it with bitterness. I do it with power. Because my story isn't about a man who cheated or a cousin who betrayed me. It's about a woman who refused to stay broken, and that woman is me.